Darkcast Network. Out of the shadows comes the best of indie podcasts.
Welcome to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. And I'm Alanna.
I'm Kelsey.
And we are past episode 100, so hello.
Wow.
How are you? We're good. Glad to be here.
Yes, I can't believe it. Triple digits.
Triple digits, single networks, several
Yeah.
handfuls of patrons, maybe, and fans. I can't wait till those are in the triple digits. All the fans.
Yeah.
Spread the word of mouth. Spread the good gospel, people. If you like us, let them know. We just want to reach all the more ears because, it's been fun. And that last episode was really fun. I had
Yes.
a blast recording that.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, we had
Played
lots of fun.
along. Yeah, it was tough. I must have
Yeah.
said this is hard 10 million times. That's what she said. Trying to guess top 10 lists, which
It's really hard.
it is. I have to say that 10ish pod makes it seem easy, and I was quizzing Pat after the fact and saying, well, who was it you said to me for one of the clues? Anthony Hopkins, Benicio del Toro, and the one other person that was in the movie or whatever. And I just said the three names to him, and I didn't even preface it with like anything. He's like in the bathtub. And then I'm like, what would you say to that? And he goes, like,
The
the
Wolfman.
Wolfman. Yeah. He was like, the
You're like,
Wolfman. And I was like, oh, you were so good at this. I wanted to
God
use
damn
you as a
it.
lifeline.
Yeah. Phone a Pat.
Exactly.
We'll do that now on for any movie trivia. We can't figure out. We'll be like, we need to phone a Pat, and you can just go downstairs and ask Pat, what movie are we talking about? What are we thinking of right now?
I apparently am always just begging my family now to be part of the content. I'm like, but you're so good. You're so interesting. Look how much you can talk about things. Like, Pat
Yeah.
was easy on our Patreon episode where he was reviewing the documentary with me, and
Yeah.
he watched the next doc we're gonna review, the Murdoch murders, with me for our April episode, and like, yeah, he had some things to say about that, of course. So
Yes.
anyway, that was funny. He was, and then he was threatening to now I'm gonna have to listen to the episode to see how good you did on the
Oh,
guessing.
God. You can also listen to how terrible I was at coming up with hints for you. That was also painful.
No, that was pretty good. You know, it's like when you watch someone play those games where you have to give hints, like for taboo or something where you can't say the word,
Yeah.
or charades or whatever. It's tough.
I have too much like social anxiety to enjoy playing any of those games.
Well, because especially if you don't know the partner you're playing with, it can be really hard.
Yeah,
Um,
like
I always think of the Four Christmases movie with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon, which I'm not going to make that stupid joke about her again, but he has three brothers in the movie, and so he comes from like not as well off of a family as he is now that he's an adult or whatever, Vince Vaughn's character. And so they go back to like his dad's house, and then his brother and his wife are playing it, and she's all preggers, and not that they're white trash, but she's like serving the little crackers with like the spray cheese, and
yeah.
Reese Witherspoon's all like, what's this? Oh, from a can. Lovely, you know. But then they're playing the taboo, and they're just like lightning. They're like, that time that person hit on me and you punched him out. No, I don't know. They're just like, and then he's like, this place, that thing, whatever. And they just get it right off the bat. And yeah, it can be fun.
My best friend, when we were in high school, we were like that. People used to
Nice.
hate playing, what is it, charades.
Yeah,
who
yeah.
really hated playing
We gotta
charades with
act it out.
us. Yeah, because especially when as a group you're the ones that wrote everything that's like in the hat. Uh
Oh, okay. So like your
and we
own made
had
up charades, kind of.
yeah, we had so many inside jokes that like we just do like a hand gesture and the person would be like, "It's this," and you'd be like, "Right," and then
Oh no!
like it would
But
take like
nobody else
two
could get it.
seconds. Yeah, it'd be like 2 second rounds because it was
Oh
like
no!
boom, this, oh done.
That is, yes, that is what
Yeah.
happens in this movie. It's just like speed
Mm-hmm.
round kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like nobody else has a chance.
Yeah, but we had ones that were
Oh,
like
that's funny.
what actors, movies, TV shows, songs, bands, everything.
There's answers
Yeah.
people come up with. I think I was telling you
Yeah.
something about last time Caitlin and Grant were over and we were playing. We had the classic taboo and oh my god, what did I say? I think I was telling you, but it was something like a person who is a sneak or something, and she's like a bitch or something. That it was just like I was like, wait, that's a person who is foolish or something. I was like, wait, what?
I do not remember you telling me that.
Oh god damn it! I'm gonna have to. I remember what she guessed at the time. Oh
Oh.
no! Don't make me go listen to back episodes to recall what I can't remember. I
Ressa,
can't do
help her
it.
out. Text her. Text her what she's
My
talking about.
oh, Ressa, yes, the elephant of my family. She remembers everything. Mine like a steel trap.
I'm pretty good, but sometimes I'm
Yeah,
not.
you are. I rely on Pat to be my movie memory. Is it what
Yeah.
that movie? Did we see that movie? What happened in that movie? But then he can usually jog it, and I'm like, oh yeah, 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 that's right.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, we're talking about something this week. It's not any of that.
No.
I just always have to tangent a little bit. Well, we're talking about some mistaken identity crimes this week. We
Yeah.
haven't we haven't done this.
No, I thought of this episode and put it on my list as a future episode topic around the same time we did horrible hitmen, because this comes up quite a lot of people being horrible hitmen because they killed the wrong
Yeah.
person. And then we put it off because
Yeah.
it could be a pretty similar topic. So we're like, we need some episodes in between.
Yeah, like there's some overlap, but at the same time,
Yeah.
you hate to reduce someone's murder to like a blurb in a
Yeah.
bad killer episode. Like, yeah, because there's so much
Yeah.
more to those cases usually. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Uh, and I have kind of the fun fact this week. I ran across it when I was looking at my case. So I put it at the
I
beginning of
love
my
that.
segment. And this was from history.howstuffworks.com, which I feel
Ooh.
like I've heard of howstuffworks.com before.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one can be good for just straight up info.
Yeah, it came up in little lists about, this was technically about DNA. It was talking about issues with DNA
Ooh.
results and that causing mistaken identities. So this was number
Ooh.
4 on the list, and that was that it said transplant recipient chilled to the marrow because they love a good pun. And it says
Ooh,
bone marrow,
okay.
right? This was I found really
Continue.
interesting. It says bone marrow transplants can cause criminal mix-ups. Police investigating one particular sexual assault case must have thought the case was going well. They had a semen sample with usable DNA, and it matched DNA of an Alaskan man already in the system. There was just one hitch. The man in question had been in jail when the crime was committed. Was it a mix up in the system? No, although that's what the technicians first thought. In truth, the solution was even stranger. 1 year earlier, the jailed man had received bone marrow from the actual assailant, his brother. And it had
The
like some
guy
more
in
about that one.
prison got the marrow. Or
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh, it had a bit more, and then it just at the bottom said today bone marrow recipients sometimes retain some of their own marrow and end up with mixed genetic profiles. But in this case, the jailed man had lost all of his original marrow, and so he registered as a full 100% match for the criminal in question.
Oh my god.
Which I knew nothing about this. That's wild. It and then
That is crazy. The
yeah, so you could
100%
uh,
match
like a full match in DNA if you've had a 100% bone marrow transplant. You
from his brother
yeah,
too.
this one ended up being his brother who was the actual one that uh committed the sexual assault. So I mean, they're not a great family because one brother's already in prison, the other one's out there sexually assaulting people. But
Oh
yeah,
no! Spoiler, I have some similarities in my intro, but
oh
it's not the same
yeah.
case. I'm sorry in
uh,
advance.
and then the last little blurb it had on that little part because it had I think 10 little stories. This one I think was the most interesting. Other ones were kind of like, eh. Uh,
Only the
it all
best for us.
yeah. It also said, by the way, mixed DNA can also show up on cheek swabs if you've, it says, if you've been smooching. And then,
Oh my god.
yeah, it also says, according to a
Smooching.
2013 study, DNA can linger in your mouth for up to an hour, a fact that could potentially help catch sexual predators. So that's why they do, for like rape kits
Okay.
and stuff like that, they may do cheek swabs and everything.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Because then
Um,
they'd be able to rule out your DNA and hopefully narrow down the DNA profile of the perpetrator.
right. Which is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, don't love the idea of it lingering, but oh my god, the
No.
idea of the DNA mixing. I've heard of similar things, maybe like
Yeah.
once before, but it's always been like, that is fucking fascinating because
Yeah.
I've heard of it a little bit in terms of like, you're almost a DNA chimera or whatever, because if you
Yeah.
get a transplant, then your DNA can like mix. And so I
Yeah.
thought somebody talked about one case where this mother was applying for like some sort of social assistance because of the kids she had. But before she could get like the
Yeah.
welfare or whatever, she had to like prove that they were hers because their DNA did not fully match hers. And as it turned
Yeah. Which
out,
is so weird.
yeah, I think in her case, she had actually absorbed a sibling or twin in the womb kind of thing. And so that had
Wow.
put DNA in her like uterus that wasn't fully hers. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. It can happen. You can have different DNA in your uterus
Yeah.
than the rest of your body. I've heard of that
Which
before.
just seems wild
Yeah. But I'd
because
never heard
it's
about
yeah.
like bone marrow transplants, like actually
Yeah.
altering somebody's DNA profile. That's crazy to
Right.
me.
Yeah, it's to me it's almost a Simpsons Halloween horror episode where they
Yeah.
someone gets Snape's transplanted hair. Oh, Homer, he gets Snape's transplanted hair and Snape's
Oh
the criminal
god.
guy, so then he starts being like all criminal and like driving around and running away from the cops and you hear that about like organ transplants maybe, but
Yeah.
the whole DNA mixing, that's a whole nother we could do a like a chimera crimes episode maybe because we briefly even mentioned that one that you told me about on Forensic Files where the doctor
Yeah.
like put fucking
The little
what
tube of blood in his arm.
in his arm, in his actual arm to
Yeah.
fake the test that he didn't rape the girl. I can't get over that. That is
And he had that
insane.
little tube in his arm for a year because they tried to do blood work
Yeah.
again a year later because she kept pushing at him and they finally got it.
Yeah.
And then when they went to withdraw it the second time, it was so old. They're like, this blood like is so old they couldn't I don't even know if
test
they could
it.
really test it or anything, but the
But they
technician
had
was like,
seen it
this
come out of his
looks,
arm.
yeah, they're like, this blood is so old and it looked wrong and everything. But yeah, it was, this little tube was still in his arm for a year. Like, it's so gross.
Like the shit
Yeah.
somebody will go through to fucking make sure they don't get prosecuted for a sexual assault. That would, yeah.
Yeah. Like, then don't commit the sexual assault,
My
ass.
God, my dude.
Right?
That was in
Yeah.
Canada too. What the fuck?
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah.
Anywho's it. I'm sorry.
But
Those
that,
fun facts are crazy sometimes.
right?
Hang on,
Uh,
I'm ready to crack into it.
ooh.
Ooh. All right.
That brings me in. Mine is a full-blown murder case. And
Of course.
it,
Pour self more drink.
yeah.
I'm ready.
This is murder of Jane Eliza Thurgood-Dove.
Oh,
It's a hyphenated last name, Thurgood-Dove.
she sounds like a Jane Austen character or something.
Right? That's quite the name. I think it's pretty
Oh,
nice, though.
is this an older case?
From 1977. A little older.
Oh,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the name was very fancy. I was like, is this from the
Yeah.
1800s or something?
No. I don't have a ton of information. Basically, out of all my sources, the only background I could find on Jane was that she was born March 17th, 1963 in Australia.
St. Patrick's Day. I always
Yeah.
wanted that birthday. In
Uh,
Australia. Okay.
yeah, to parents Helen. One source said like Helene, I think.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, with an E at the end or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
And John Magill or
Okay.
Magill, maybe. Uh,
I know, I never
so
know how to
it's
pronounce anything.
on
Tomato.
no
Sorry.
on November 6th, 1977. This jumps right into her murder. I'm sorry, guys. I have nothing else to tell you about her life. I don't even know her husband's name.
I have
It
also very
is
detailed.
so hard
It's
for this
not.
one.
What's the opposite of heavy? Yeah, it's hard to find details on these sometimes.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
really, really hard. So November 6th, 1977, Jane, at the time age 34, had just finished picking up her children from school,
Hmm.
and they had all driven home. They're parked in the driveway at about 3:40 p.m.
Okay.
And she had just gotten out of her four-wheel drive vehicle, and when Jane is suddenly confronted on the driveway of their house in Melbourne by, there's two different, I guess, descriptions of what happens next. The first one being that a short, pot-bellied man kind of confronted her on her driveway and started chasing her, and basically chasing her, so they were running around her vehicle, kind of in circles. Um,
Oh.
yeah, keep in mind, like,
Seemingly
she's not gonna,
unprovoked.
yeah, she's not gonna run
Okay.
away because her kids are still in the vehicle.
Oh
So
no.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're basically just encircling. He's on one side, she's on the other, and they're kind of just going around in circles around her vehicle. This is one description of what happens. It said that Jane then tripped and fell. The man suddenly stood over her and pulled out a large caliber pistol, shooting her repeatedly in the head and torso, killing her instantly.
Oh my God.
Yeah. This was all in full view of her three children who are still in the car. Their ages differ
No.
in some of the sources, but the one that in the police source I could find said they were 7, 6, or not 7, 11, 6, and 3. And they're like in the vehicle.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Did he even know there was kids in the car? I mean, he obviously couldn't have cared. I know we're doing mistaken identity
I
murder, so it's
think
like I
they
have some
did.
information.
Yeah, I think he knew there was
Wow.
kids in the vehicle because that's get to it, but yeah.
Oh my
Um,
god.
then the other source. So that's one version of what happened. The other version, and this is from the police. Like I ended up reading police. What was it? Um, I think it was police.vic.gov. Like it's a website they have in Australia for
Mm,
these.
Victoria police, maybe?
Yeah. They they had some information what they said because they didn't agree with that. They said, so again, she's on the driveway, she has the four-wheel drive vehicle, she gets out of it, and then the police notice said that a stolen metallic blue Holden Commodore vehicle pulled up outside the front of her property, and a gunman stepped out of the vehicle and shot Jane while she stood in her driveway. So, like, he hadn't chased her, she hadn't tripped, he hadn't stood over her. That he had just gotten out of the
Right.
vehicle and just shot her basically immediately. I
So either
assume.
way, the
Yeah,
stories say she's in her driveway.
yeah, of her house with her kids in the car. Um,
Wow.
So the man then ran to this waiting getaway vehicle, the blue Holden Commodore, which was a stolen vehicle being driven by a younger and slimmer man. And these two men just sped right off. Um,
Him and Potbelly.
yeah.
Right.
The perpetrator's
Jeez.
car was found later. I'm not sure when. Probably pretty quickly. It wasn't too far away. It had been intentionally set on fire and left nearby on Farrell Street. I think that might have been just a few blocks away.
The car was on fire.
Yeah, their getaway car. The perpetrator's getaway car was on fire.
Holy shit,
Yeah.
okay. Wasn't
Yeah.
expecting that.
So investigations that they started revealed that the car had been stolen the day before from Prince's Park in Carlton. There was an initial reward of $100,000 made for any information related to Jane's death and murder, and police began two lines of investigation. The head investigator, Ron Idles, suspected either Jane's husband or a man that he discovered Jane was having an affair with. Whether or not it was like physical, it was definitely emotional on the side of the man she was reportedly
Oh
involved with.
no.
Yeah. Um
I mean, that's unfortunate, but it doesn't
yeah.
excuse the fact that she's dead
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
What the
So
hell?
police first looked into Jane's husband. As we know in true crime, and a lot of the times the husband did it, so they wanted to investigate him. Uh, but they ended up agreeing with her husband's opinion that their marriage was happy and healthy. Looking into his background, they found he was hardworking and had no criminal record, and he was able to pass a polygraph when they
I
asked him
mean,
to. Like,
he's obviously
but
innocent then. No.
yeah, right.
We all know
Full stamp
polygraphs
of
are
approval.
foolproof.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, they didn't really find anything in there, at least from what they investigated.
Huh.
So the focus then moved on to other people that may have wished Jane harm. And this is when police discovered that Jane had told at least two friends, separate friends, that a well respected and active policeman was obsessed with her. I think this is like who she was having this affair with or something.
Oh
And
no.
police
But she also has to
also,
tell people he's obsessed with her?
yeah. That's why I'm like, it was emotional at least on his part. Um, yeah.
All we can
So I'm
see is
like,
that teenage girl on Modern Family when Phil pretends he's this teenager because it's Halloween, so he's in a costume. So he
oh
pretends to be
yeah.
Rod Skyhook or something. And then this one girl goes, yeah, we'll go to the party. And then later she's like, Rod Skyhook's obsessed with me. He tried to kiss me
Oh,
once or something.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
You're like, okay, girl. It's literally someone made up, but
uh
sorry.
yeah,
It's
so this
obsessed.
guy that's obsessed with her is a well-respected active policeman, and so police are investigating him, find out basically it's a coworker essentially, or at least somebody in another like precinct or division, I
Oh,
guess. So police discovered that since Jane's murder, that this gentleman had been diagnosed with depression. I mean, plenty of people are,
okay.
and she had just died too. Um, and in 1998, 21 years. Spoiler alert, it's unsolved. Uh,
No!
yeah, sorry. Um,
Shitty.
in 1998,
No, props
Melbourne's.
to people that can do podcasts where they mostly do unsolved crimes, because
I
that
couldn't
shit
do
must be
it.
hard. Yeah.
It makes me not able to sleep at night when I hear too many unsolved cases. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
I can't do it. I get too freaked out about there being too
not to
many
come.
people not
Well,
caught.
that's what people have to change careers when they become too desensitized, right? Policemen or
Yeah.
hospital workers, etc. And this is what happens. I expect that's what
Yeah.
happens in true crime too, even though we do not do the same thing. I'm not trying to compare us to
No, yeah.
EMTs or anything, first responders, but it's tough. It can take a toll.
Right? I'm sitting there sometimes listening to Crimes and Consequences going, what the fuck am I even listening to right now? I'm like, this is insanity. Just standing
Right?
here washing my dishes, like da 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 da. It's like,
8 hours
fuck.
of podcast later, you're like, yeah, yeah. Then she got decapitated because of course she did. You're just like
Yeah.
so. It's like you're like watching a movie. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Uh,
you gotta, yeah, you definitely wouldn't have to try when you're like covering the cases to
yeah.
be like, am I being a little desensitized or
Right?
am I good?
Um, yeah, so 21 years after her murder, in Melbourne's Herald Sun newspaper ran a front page story with the headline that the policeman was now the prime suspect in Jane's murder.
Ah,
The
I should have
policeman,
known.
yeah, the policeman did admit to loving her, and even at one point or multiple points asking her to leave her husband, but he denied outright that he had killed her. So
Interesting.
yeah, police then believed that he may have hired these two men uh as like hitmen kind of to kill Jane on his behalf when she refused to leave her husband. So following this line of thought, they interviewed this policeman on three separate occasions because he also had no alibi for the time of Jane's murder. Um
And he was the one that couldn't have her. The
yeah,
policeman. Right.
yeah.
I mean, the
Um
motive looks good.
right?
Yeah.
It said, however, police did have insufficient evidence to charge any suspects that they could possibly have had. There's just nothing to go off of.
Yeah.
It's all, I wouldn't even say it's circumstantial. Like, there's literally just nothing. Like,
Yeah, no body. Nothing like that.
no, she
Or
was shot. She was shot in her
okay.
driveway.
Sorry, but I guess no other evidence as to who it was.
Yeah, like
Sorry.
yeah, there's no way to tie back like the two men to like who may have hired them or anything like that.
Yeah, very
Um,
cold, very
yeah,
calculated.
right? Yeah, exactly. The public expressed concerns at this point that the policeman was continuing to serve like an active duty. He was carrying a gun and everything like that. And there was even other police officers that wanted him removed from operational duties.
Oh,
However, the main command refused to suspend or transfer him after he was able to produce medical and psychiatric evidence that he was fit to continue active duty. Um,
oh.
yeah, so
Meaning like tests that they ordered, I wonder? Because,
with like,
hmm.
I don't know who did them, whether it was maybe like an outside psychiatric place that provided him with them, or if it was like police provided psychiatric person. But he was
Yeah.
able to show that he was active. He was still fit to carry a gun and continue to be a police officer.
Really?
Um, yeah,
Because it's tough. I know it's a gray area when you start getting
yeah,
into levels of mental health issues and
yeah. And
yeah,
just because
that
he
kind of
had
stuff.
depression at the time or shortly after her death doesn't mean he's involved or anything like that. I personally don't believe he was involved because there is another
Hmm.
line of like thought that comes up for what the case is.
But like,
But again, it's
yeah,
unsolved, so
I just from here we tend to be seemingly more strict on that in Canada, whereas like,
yeah,
well, stricter gun laws, I think in general, where we try to be and stuff like that. Even though, as I told you, maybe off air, there was a recent time where my kid's school had like a
yeah,
shoot or a threat of some kind that they didn't really deem serious because they didn't close the school that day, but the kids knew
yeah.
about it and were told they could stay home. It was very
They
weird
didn't
for
want to come to school
Canada.
because there was something written on the walls or whatever. Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, and I'm trying to understand my 15-year-old tell me about this, and I'm like, oh, so it's like this no big deal, or like they think it's, they said it's not serious, but at the same time, if we want to stay home tomorrow, we can. And I was going like, well, does it say like tomorrow? And she was like, oh yeah, it had like a date on it, and that's why I was like, yes, please stay home tomorrow. I
Yeah,
will be the true crime mom. That's just, I don't care if that's,
yeah,
just stay home,
yeah. It's one day.
whatever.
Uh,
Yeah, even if
we
it's
will.
nothing.
Yeah, right.
But
Better
I
do
guess,
that than
oh, it was
yeah,
weird. I don't know if we even talked about that, but yeah, that happened. And part of the reason, like, well, Pat was in the military, and then of course he's been diagnosed with PTSD, and so that's part of the reason why, they assess whether you're capable to stay in your job, doing what you're doing in the
yeah,
military, and whether or not you can have a gun and stuff like that. So even if you have PTSD, they might take you off, that kind of shit. And then, like,
yeah,
they had him like teaching people and stuff just because, and not because he was violent or anything, but he had pretty, severe PTSD. And they're like,
yeah.
just in
Exactly.
case, let's have you not have a gun or and stuff like that. Like, we're pretty serious about it that way here. I don't know.
Yeah,
It was good.
yeah. You have to take
It's
that kind of
tough.
stuff really serious, but it doesn't mean that you have to write people off completely and
No. You don't know who's going to
anything
go
like that.
postal. You just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the scary
Um.
part for sure.
Yeah. Uh. Oh, I did find in my research one of the sources said that this policeman did end up failing a polygraph. Uh, but it didn't say. It said that it was in the year 2000, so that would have been what 23 years after her murder. So I don't know if it was related
Oh,
to that case or not because it was
okay.
yeah. Um,
It
but
seems like
whatever.
not great evidence either way.
Yeah. And then in October 2003, the Herald Sun quoted a senior homicide detective who said that they had eliminated the policeman as their like as being involved and that he had been
Oh,
their only prime suspect. So now they're at
really?
nobody at this point. That the
Damn.
Victorian government at this time then upgraded the $100,000, I think I said, reward. It was now increased to $1 million for seeking information that would lead to a conviction.
Wow.
And this did lead to police receiving some new information about the case.
A million
Um,
dollar reward? Oh my
yeah.
god. I would, I
Uh,
bet they got a lot of not relevant stuff.
bullshit,
Just,
probably, yeah.
I mean, but that's what they were hoping for, to dredge up anybody that might have
Yeah.
seen anything inconsequential, they might have thought.
And
But,
it's been what at that point it was over 20 years. Like
oh,
people are more likely to talk kind of the longer you wait, I guess.
Yeah, in certain
Um,
cases, especially if people have
yeah,
died. Yeah.
yeah. So this led the new information they received was that a group of, I think it's Geelong bikers, were
Oh.
being implicated in the murder.
What
The tips said
how is this
that
spelled? This is a biker name? I'm sorry.
I think it's like a bike group, Gee and then long, Geelong.
Oh, no, I've never seen that anywhere. Sorry, I was just
Yeah, it
curious.
must be a biker gang. Um,
Right, maybe you get like
yeah,
fucking fuck I can't remember. Sons of Anarchy and all that over here.
yeah. They're
Whatever.
no Hell's Angels.
Hell's Angels, yeah. I
Or
couldn't remember
rebels.
any of them all of a sudden. It's Arnold's movies all over again. And I was saying to Pat, I suddenly couldn't remember any of his movies. And he goes, this, that, End of Days. I was like, damn it, that was the movie. End of Days.
When I go, it's an Arnold movie, but not the Terminator. I said or Jingle Bells or
Jingle
The
Bells.
Last
Yeah,
Action Hero or
we're
I can't
thinking of
remember what
anything
else I
that came
said.
out post Terminator because this is when we were alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Anyway, for more information, see our Patreon. No, that was not Patreon. That was last
no.
episode.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been recording a lot for Patreon and we do a lot of fun stuff over there, so sometimes I get confused.
Yeah. Yes, these bikers are now being implicated in Jane's murder. It
Oh.
is then further stated that Jane was mistakenly murdered and that the real target had been a woman of similar appearance, also with a four-wheel drive vehicle, like Jane's, who
Oh.
lived a few houses down on the corner property on the same street. And it was said in one of the sources also that they were to be looking for a target that had three young children, which is why they,
No! Even the
which is,
kids was part of the details.
well, it was like to help identify them, but if it's mistaken identity, like all these fit to Jane as well as this other supposed
That's
person.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
hate whenever someone's freaking vehicle is used to help quote unquote identify them because
Yeah,
it
that's
usually
scary.
doesn't. Like
Yeah.
lots of people have similar cars, man.
Yeah, or you could be borrowing somebody's vehicle. That's scary.
I see a blue
Um,
Tucson. I'm like, there's Kelsey.
yeah. Unless you know their license plate, you probably should not be doing
I
shit to
have
them.
no idea what your license plate is.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say it. No.
No. That was like something I was listening to earlier, and they were talking about "Am I the Asshole" from Reddit, and this dad got her kid a KitchenAid, and how dare he? It was gray, and she was like, "That is my least favorite color," and so I gave it away. And then he asked where it was because it was like an $800
Yeah.
KitchenAid mixer or something, and she was like, "I gave it to my friend because I didn't like the color and it didn't fit here. And if you knew me, you would have known that." And everyone was like, "Wow,
Oh,
you're the asshole."
yeah, 1,000%. I would never buy you anything again ever in your life.
He will not. Guaranteed that dad will not.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should
Oh,
definitely continue our Reddit segments on Patreon because there is
yeah.
so much gold like that there.
Oh my god. I would not be able to handle that. I would get so angry.
It's insane. I love
Oh.
Am I the Asshole? But if you have to
Um,
write to it, you might be the asshole, so just be prepared. If
yeah,
you're
probably a
writing to
lot of
Reddit.
times you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I might have been the asshole when I did this. Yeah, likely.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, they received that information. So police are kind of intrigued by that. They start offering potential indemnity deal with the former biker who was suspected of being the getaway driver that day.
Oh,
So they might have received a separate tip or something that they were able to get this person's name. I'm not really sure how it worked.
okay.
Um, so they were going to offer indemnity to the getaway driver in return for identifying the person who hired the pair or who organized the hit. The
Oh,
two
wow.
men that they identified as being either the shooter and the driver was Stephen John Morty and Jamie Reynolds. They were named as stealing the vehicle and killing Jane. However, by the
Oh.
time they were named, Morty had died in 2000 from a heart attack, and Reynolds had died in 2006 during a boating accident.
Oh my
So
God.
they couldn't be like identified, interviewed, pressed for information, or anything like that.
Seriously. Because, like, you did say
Yeah.
that this was like 20 years after.
Yeah. Like, she was murdered in 1977. So, I
Damn.
mean, yeah, it's been a long time. It's
Hmm.
coming up almost 50 years. Like,
Star Wars.
yeah.
I think that's when the first Star Wars came out.
um, yeah, so this. Oh, this was from part of an article. That's really all I found about the main case. This next part was from 9news.com.au. And this was the most up to date thing I could find on the case. It was published by
Hmm.
Luke Mortimer in
Okay.
2017. 2017.
Oh.
Um,
I was like, okay,
everything.
2000. Not that recent.
No, sorry, I think everything else was 2005, and this was 2017. I was like, okay, let's go
Okay,
with
and fair
this.
enough. And some people I know will say like 2019 instead of 2019, and I'm like, fair enough.
I go either way. It depends on the year.
Yeah, it's sometimes it just slips out one way or the other.
Like, I will say 2020, and I will never say like 2020
Yeah, that sounds
or
weird.
2021.
Although
Like,
2020 was so long, you'd think we
yeah,
would say the great year of our
the decade that
misfortune,
is 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
We're not bitter.
Um, So this was kind of interesting. It said shock twist revealed in Oaks Day cold case murder.
Shock
That was the
twist.
headline. Yeah. Um
Clickbait. Sorry.
this yeah, it doesn't have really anything shocking in it other than the
Of
fact
course.
that these people tracked down the supposed woman that fit Jane's description that lived a few houses down that could have been the actual intended target. They basically confronted her.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Well,
this is
yeah,
how
we don't even know who she is or the name of her.
um it may say their name. I'm not too sure. Um no, I don't think it does.
Wow.
Um this was done for what was the TV program called? Um I'm
Not
not exactly
unsolved
sure.
mysteries.
No, they it was a TV program kind of like 20 minutes or like 2020 or whatever that'll do little
Okay.
like segments. It was that kind of thing. They were doing like a quick segment about the
Mm.
case and then they had tacked this on of like tracking this person down and like confrontational journalism. We knock on their door and shove a microphone in their face being like, "Would you like to comment on this?" Um and this is how that went. Really fun, I guess.
I mean, I love it. No.
These are little blurbs. It said a masked man armed with a shovel has sensationally threatened a current affair crew. So the show was called A Current Affair. Um,
Oh.
it said
Mm.
they were confronted today during its investigation into those with historic links to the Jane Thurgood-Dove murder case. A Current Affair visited a Melbourne address in an attempt to track down the woman police believe was the intended target of the botched hit when they were told to go get effed by a man cleaning a boat at the property and wearing a safety mask. Um,
Sorry.
and this was
That would be funny if
pre-COVID,
what the
so like,
person
why is he
said.
wearing a mask?
No, no,
Go get
no.
effed.
If we didn't have the punctuation in there or the pause, it could have been a man said, "Go get effed by the man in this mask down at the end of the harbor," or whatever
Yeah.
it is you said.
Go get F by the man cleaning the boat and wearing a safety mask.
It's
It's
like a
one of
very
the
specific, like,
yeah, it's one of the
go
rooms at
sit
the
on
club.
it and shove it.
It's one of the rooms at the club. Just go get effed by the man cleaning the boat and wearing a
It's a
mask.
very specific sex euphemism. You've heard of docking. Now have you heard the man in the club? I don't know.
Um,
Carry on.
yeah, so as the crew were getting back into their vehicle, the man emerged from the property with a shovel and threatened the crew. A current
Oh
affair
no.
will tonight reveal a disgraced lawyer that arguably Australia's greatest detective. Oh, I was like, how does this sentence make
That
sense?
was arguably Australia's greatest
No.
detective.
Reveal a disgraced lawyer that arguably Australia's greatest detective Ron Idles believes contracted the hit in a twisted act of revenge intended to take out the wife of a rival criminal. So apparently it
Oh,
was
that sentence
a
was a little
lawyer. Yeah.
convoluted.
Yeah.
That's it was a little
Um
janky.
yeah, but if you remember, Ron Idles is the was the lead investigator in her murder when it first happened. So he believes
So,
that a disgraced lawyer took out the hit for this rival like criminal's wife, and then it got like mixed up and then Jane got murdered instead. Yeah.
that is confusing or layered.
Yeah. Um So
I'm
it
still trying
said
to
that
wrap my head
this
around
this
it.
woman that they confronted, I guess, was the only other mom on Muriel Street with 3 children, a 4-wheel drive vehicle, blonde hair, and lived just 3 houses from a road. So like 3 houses in
Oh my
from
god.
the road. Yeah.
And this is what they're using to identify people with that they're gonna kill.
Yeah,
She's
presumably it's
blonde, she's a mom, suburban, 3 kids, at the end of the road. Oh,
yeah,
three
right.
houses from the left, my left. Like, come on!
I
Can we
know
be a
it,
little bit more specific?
right?
This is someone's life here.
Yeah. So continues saying former Victorian homicide detective Charlie Bazina said that incompetence of the crooks was what made it so terrifying to everyday Australians. Quote, it
Yeah.
was the bumbling, foolish offenders that just got the wrong target. They were certainly hunting down for a particular woman. They had a description of the person in the house, and it was similar.
I
Um,
mean, I would hope that wouldn't be good enough because, yeah, I would be
yeah,
scared
right?
too if I were the public. Yeah, they're going to think I'm
Yeah.
similar to someone they need to kill. That's going to be the end of me. And I don't mean to laugh, but it's terrible. Like, it's just
Yeah, right?
not a mistake that needs to be, like, made.
I don't know if this is also from Mr. Bazina saying, quote, just the whole flow on of events was so tragic, it's beyond words. An innocent woman being gunned down in her own driveway in front of her children, and she had nothing to do with anything.
No, nor
Um,
did any of her family, including those children and everyone
right?
else. The
Yeah.
repercussions are, they're staggering.
Yeah. Oh, it just re-mentions the $1 million reward on the table for information leading to the conviction of those behind the murder. Um,
Okay.
Article continues saying that prompted a close associate of Morty to tell the police he had confessed his involvement, but police are still yet to nail a direct link back to the solicitor. Time is running out for Thurgood-Dove's dad, John Magill, who's aged
Okay.
83, who said he's desperate for
Oh.
answers and to secure justice for his daughter before he dies.
Oh no.
Yeah. Um
And they only really have the one suspect or whatever? Or
yeah, well
gang?
like they're two the two that they believed are involved are dead.
Excuse me.
So they don't really have a way to
Right.
track down who hired
Right.
the hit or who was
Ugh.
more so involved, I guess.
Yeah, that sucks. The colder and longer the cases go on.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It says King also spoke to neighbors who heard the murder unfold and saw the gory aftermath, many of whom remember Jane as a really lovely lady, um, and saying it was a shock to see it happen. Oh, this is the one. It says, oh no,
Yeah.
it must be a neighbor. No, the neighbor's name is Helene, and Jane's mother's name is Helen. That's where I got Helene from. It confused
Oh,
me.
okay.
Because this says Helene, who lived on Muriel Street for 65 years, told King her father's never got over it. I see him occasionally, and he's never gotten over it ever, so it's pretty bad.
Aw.
Recalling the horror of the day 20 years ago, Helene said one boy who lived on the street was left traumatized and struggled to recover after walking past as the murder unfolded, and many neighbors were still too scared to
What?
speak, even 2 decades on, telling King of their fear of underworld links to the murder. Um,
So somebody might have even witnessed it, the little boy?
yeah, like other than her kids witnessing it, there's like other
Right.
neighbors and stuff. I mean, kids are coming
Oh
home
my
from school
god.
at 3:40. It can be pretty active in like neighborhoods, people picking up their kids and stuff.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. This one's
Yeah.
just horrible. I'm trying to block it
Um
out before it's even over. 3 kids witnessed it? Great. No, moving on. I'm
yeah.
sorry. Ugh.
Um, yeah, so that's it for that article. So no one's ever been charged with Jane's tragic murder, and her
Oh my
case
god.
remains unsolved. Police are still asking for any information about the case, and the $1 million reward, as far as I can tell, still stands, as well as the consideration of
Wow.
indemnity for any involvement if your info or information leads to a conviction. Uh,
Wow. That sucks. They're desperate.
Yeah. The case is actually one of 5 cold cases now open to the public in an online hub in like the Victoria, like Australia police. They posted the thing. That's where I verified a lot of my information from.
Oh.
Is this is they basically have like a little video that tells you about it and then a little summary, which is
Oh,
basically all the
really?
information I gave you. That's all they have. Um
But they have a little video.
so
That's kind of
I
cool.
think it just summarizes that somebody's like narrating it or something.
Oh.
So this little online hub is in the hopes that a member of the public can solve the case or provide new information. The website is the first of its kind in Australia, and Victoria Police will produce a video for each case with an investigator talking through the facts and along with photos and what police are looking for from the public. Um, it also said they kind of hope to keep adding more cold cases to it, like one every couple weeks, I think they said.
Oh,
Um,
okay. As far as
yeah,
cold
to the
cases they already
website.
have.
Yeah,
Because,
exactly.
yeah,
You want to just add cold cases. We have a
that's the
quota
least
for
of
the
what
number
police
of
officers want, I'm
yeah,
sure.
we have a quota for the number of cold cases we need to have on
Oh,
file. That would suck.
and I'm just never one to really get political, but hate kind of when people are just have this stance of like all police officers get in it for bad reasons and are
Yeah,
power hungry and like, oh my god.
right.
How many people have laid down their lives protecting us? A couple of Edmonton police officers recently passed away, like shot down in the
Yeah,
line of fire. Like,
yeah,
it's like getting into the military. They know they could die in that job. Like, anyway, not
right.
saying they're not some bad cops, but I'm
Yeah,
not a proponent of all cops are bad fucking
yeah.
type of propaganda. Yeah, I hate that.
So Jane's parents, John and Helen, still hope that someone out there has information on who's responsible for
Yeah.
having Jane killed. This quote is from Helen saying, "We gathered around and oh, this is about the kids, her kids. I don't know what happened to her husband. Again, I don't even know his name. Um,
Okay. Yeah, the
yeah.
poor kids.
Uh, so yeah, this is Helen saying we gathered around and showed them love and attention and care. They all went about going through school. They have jobs and are content as far as I know. but they don't seem to mention their mom much, and I think if this was solved, it may make all the difference in the world.
Oh,
It's kind of sad that like they don't talk
yeah.
about her or anything. Um,
Sounds extremely traumatic.
yeah. Uh, the last thing I wanted to mention was just for the case that anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers Victoria on 1-800-333-000, or you can even submit a confidential report via the Crime Stoppers Victoria website.
We have Crime Stoppers too. I have them
Yeah.
listed in one of my cases.
Yeah. But that's all I have. I normally don't like to do unsolved things, but when I ran across this one, I don't know, I felt for like the kids having witnessed everything,
Oh,
and
their
just
story needs to be
how,
told just as well. Even
yeah,
more
like
so
how
sometimes because it
senselessly it
could
is.
help. Not
Yeah.
that we have a huge audience, but and I'm not trying to get above our britches, but yeah, in those cases it can make you want to tell it more in a way.
Yeah, but with all the, I guess, cold cases that keep getting solved lately, I hope this one is able to get solved by somebody out there with
Yeah.
information, finally feels ready to come forward so they can
True.
let the family know what happened.
Yeah, because witnesses, that can be a big thing. And
Yeah,
then this was just before the onset of early DNA testing,
yeah.
really. That stuff was really the 80s. So,
Hmm.
oh, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's heartbreaking. Damn it!
It's like, yeah,
Those poor kiddos. Yeah, hopefully they can solve it because
yeah,
they're
the whole
they're out there
family,
somewhere. Hmm.
yeah, the whole family needs to know what happened. So,
And it's always something so senseless, like a freaking, yeah, in this
yeah.
case, totally mistaken. Like gang
Yeah,
violence,
that's the main
whatever.
theory that the police are going with now, having ruled out the police officer she may have been involved with. This is their main theory
And it's
now.
like, it's hard to tell what's worse. If you're just gunned
Right?
down your daily life as an innocent person, or you just like went out to some concert one night and got gunned down as an innocent person because you were like in America where people get
Yeah.
shot at places all the time. And it's like, it's unfair. Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
These ones they're rough. That, yeah. It can, I can listen to the stories like this on podcasts, but when it comes to us covering them, it's
Yeah.
harder. Let me fucking tell you, it's
Yeah, it
way
is.
harder. I don't know why it is. You're more close to the case when you're, and we're not like journalists, investigative journalists, but still, you like get to know the victims almost.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay, go take a shot. We'll be right back. For possibly some less violent things.
Possibly less violent. No
I've got some
promises.
mistaken identity crimes that don't involve killing.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. Okay. We'll be back. We are back. We are
And
so
I'm ready.
back. She is buckled in. Get ready. Um buckle in, but it's going to be like an amusement park ride. You're going to be amazed at how short it is, especially for an Alanna case.
Yeah.
Or it's even a couple cases, really. These ones, yeah, were kind of short. So um I had as an intro a murderless mix-up of Will and William West. The only
Will
way to
and
explain.
William West. Okay.
I'm like, there's no other way. It's just to get into it. Um, So this was. Oh, sorry. I sentence this is really weird. Um, Pre-fingerprinting in the jails in the US, they used the Bertillon system. Maybe it's just Bertillon. Again, one of those words where I'm like, I haven't heard it said out loud. Never even heard it before now. Correct me. Come at me. No. So, whatever it's called, the Bertillon system to record and identify like the convicts or the prisoners. Um, so this was in 1903 when an African American named Will West arrived at the prison in Leavenworth, Kansas. We're in Kansas, y'all. And his
Okay.
measurements were taken like any other prisoner being processed at the time, where they would do like kind of like chest measurements and height and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
I think I
Yeah.
know this one.
Really?
I think, yeah, I think, was it? Oh, I think they've talked about it for some reason on Mysteries at the Museum. Like they have something related to this there.
And that's not the movie with but
No, that's Night at the Museum.
I couldn't even think of the people. I was like, no. That
Ben
joke
Stiller
died.
and Owen Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Ben Affleck because I just listened to him on Smartless the other day.
Oh.
Anyway, couldn't get him out of my head. Oh my god. It was the funny part though, because Ben Affleck is with Jennifer Lopez again.
Yeah.
So they were interviewing him and then they're talking to him on the Smartless pod, and then they go, "Oh, hi, there she is. Hey, Jen." Whatever. And oh yeah, we want to say hi to you or something. And like she must just come into the room and got accosted to be on the podcast, as would any of my family. Hey, what are you doing? Especially if
Yeah.
they're famous. And then so Sean Hayes from that show, who's like on Will and Grace and whatnot, he's the gay one, and he's like, they're like, "Oh, weren't you gonna give us some of her song?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, Jay, I just want to sing for you." It's like he's like, "Waiting for the night." Ah. Goes, "Oh, love, it's waiting for tonight." And they all just start laughing at him, like,
um,
which is my favorite part of that fucking show when they start ribbing each other. It's just the best.
nice.
Ah, but anyway, I digress. Um, I just want to get some of those smartless numbers over here.
Yeah.
J-Lo, come on the pod. Okay, back to 1903. They're being processed, and one prison guard seems to recognize Will and says, "We've seen you before, haven't we?" kind of thing. And he was like, "I think I'd remember that."
Yeah.
Even when they brought out a file on him, and he looked at it and said, "Well, that's my photo, but I don't know how you got it. I've never been here before."
Yeah.
So they're understandably confused. Their apparent, quote, world famous Bertillon system of identification was supposed to be foolproof, but, like the Titanic and everything else that we put too much trust in.
Yeah.
But their records indicated he was currently serving a sentence for murder. Already there.
Yeah.
To their cells and brought back a William West, and they were nearly identical. This is where I did include a photo. I didn't know if you had heard
Yeah.
or had seen it, but they appeared nearly identical. Their fingerprints were not. So the warden, R.W. Oh my God, I don't know how to say that. McClary, according to legend, declared that this was the death of Bertillonage. So dramatic.
Death to Britain.
Yeah, what is this system is clearly not foolproof, so
Yeah, it'd be like keeping track
Fingerprints
of
all the
prisoners
way.
based on like your shoe size or something just flat out ridiculous. Nobody else
All
can
we
be
could
an
get on this
eight
guy was
and
he
a
was
half.
size 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said 8.5. I said 9. um. Oh, so I guess there's a word for it because then I put that they discontinued anthropoma anthropoma. Nope. A-
Anthropomorphic?
anthropometry. That's what
Oh,
I'm gonna guess it would be said
anthropometry. That's
the next
fun.
day. So that must be the cataloging based on the height
Yeah.
and the weight and the measurements. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't heard it referred to that otherwise. Anthropometry. Yep, that's what I'm going to go with. That's how it looks. So, afterwards, most police departments started using fingerprints, and later research found that these prisoners had both written letters to members of the same family, so they likely were related, and that's why they looked so
Yeah.
similar. And I found out that, in fact, prison records cite that an inmate named George Bean reportedly knew them beforehand and said that they were actually twins.
Yeah, that's what I had heard before. They were twins separated and didn't know the other existed, basically.
Oh, really? That
Yeah.
part is interesting. I don't know if
If
I
I'm
came across
remembering
that.
correctly, because, like, if you have twins, why would you name one Will and one William? Like, or both of them William? Like,
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
And it's easy
It,
enough to think that they could have gotten separated.
yeah.
Just especially if, yeah, anything about the colored people and all that. Like, I just also end up reading that book that was called The Nova Scotia School of Colored Children. And
Oh.
most Canadians will know what a residential school is, which was kind of like a place that they rounded up all the poor Native American kids to go and tried to make them all more Christian and stuff. And this was like
Yeah.
that, but for the poor, like black kids in Nova Scotia. Ugh,
Oh,
it's
that's
just
sad.
rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. This just reminds me of that because like they would just get taken away from their parents. And it was really sad, and then there was a lot of abuse, so that's not fun. But
Mm-hmm.
now we're getting to deal with it generations later, right?
Yeah. Need to talk about the stuff and learn from the mistakes of the past so that it doesn't happen again.
I know, and it's like sometimes I have to be like, oh, so much talk about systemic racism, and do we have that here? But then shit like this comes up where you're like, well, there
Yeah,
was
we
orphanages
did.
for white kids, but this one was basically an orphanage for black kids that, a black guy thought it would be a good idea and wanted it to be this real good dream. And then, like, unfortunately, black and white people abuse the residents, the children, the most vulnerable
Yeah.
victims. And then it just fucks it up for everyone.
And Canada has had problems with, even if you look into, I think they call it the Chinese head tax, where they
Oh,
didn't
was that
want
like at the time they
immigrants.
were all building the railroads for us here, like
Yeah,
basically
and
as
they
slaves?
they didn't want Chinese people coming into Canada, so they put a really, really high,
Ugh.
basically, entry fee for them to pay to be able to
Oh.
come into Canada, and it was ridiculous. And
But yet we
then,
would use them for like slave labor. Oh my
yeah.
god.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just bringing it down tonight. No.
Right? Yeah, Canada can suck too.
We sure can.
Yeah.
Oh god. Okay, so yeah, anthropometry, or however you say that, is a thing. That must
Yeah.
be the measuring. But it's interesting because this was before fingerprints, and oh yeah, that's where I left off. They might have actually been twins, according to some people who might have known them.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
I
They
mean,
would
they
look very
look
similar.
Yeah. Like, other
That's
than the
the
shadowing of
picture.
maybe the lighting of the pictures, it if you
Yeah.
told me, like, his collar was basically just fixed from one picture to the next, and then
You've been like,
it
"That's
would,
the
like,
same guy."
yeah, I think other than the I don't know which one is which, but the gentleman on the
Me
bottom,
neither.
his one ear on the when you look at the picture on the right side, like, sticks out
Mhm.
from his head just a little bit even more than his left one does on the other
Yeah.
side, and the
Yep.
other guy, both of them are the same, so it's like, "Oh, his one ear is slightly different." That's it, other than the lighting in the picture and the shirt collars. Like,
Yep. Truly, they do
it's
look very
yeah.
identical.
Yeah.
I but I can see how that wouldn't have been, it can be a problem, especially for us, we're white and we're like, well, maybe you
Yeah.
look more alike than we want to say, but we're afraid to say that because we don't want to sound racist, you know? It's like we're totally trying to tread in the other direction now when before nobody cared about being racist. So at least that's changed. um But yeah, I thought that one was cool because it came about that they would use fingerprinting from now on because their fingerprints did not match. That's how they determined they were
Yeah,
different
that's
people.
cool. Yeah.
They're like, well, I mean, obviously at that point they're like they're in the same room or whatever the fuck, but
Yeah. That Spider-Man meme, they're just all pointing at each other like,
wow, yeah.
yeah.
But it did conclude that the second Will West, who arrived at the prison, did his time for his manslaughter and disappeared. And the first, quote unquote, the lifer
Oh.
that was already there, had done his time in solitary sometimes and then escaped briefly and eventually was released in 1919. So he got out also
Oh, okay.
eventually as well. Either way, they both got caught doing some shit.
Yeah, not great.
And it's like back in the time where like all the cost like the inmates shit remind their outfits, what am I trying to say, uniforms?
Yeah.
Reminds me like, oh brother, where out art thou? It's like the black and white, almost
Yeah.
traditional like jailhouse attire. Okay, so I got a couple of short ones because they were recent. Not a lot of information. Um,
Oh.
yeah. First one, unsolved still, also. And that was the victim's name was Aren Alexander Smith, um, who died March 13th this year, 2023, in Surrey, BC. That's British Columbia, Canada for you non-Canadian folks. Um, I didn't put there's pictures of him up, like if you want to look him up. I didn't end up getting one on the drive in time, but he
Hmm.
was a younger guy. He was a family guy, loved his wife and kids. He was only 38 years old, um, and was waiting in his vehicle on 167th A Street in Surrey, and was just waiting for his wife to get out of an appointment, a massage appointment. Um, when someone came up to his vehicle and opened fire.
Oh, wow.
You know, I don't know how reporters do it, but I'm really bad at giving these parts. They're just shitty. He was just shot and killed in what would appear to be a gang-related hit. But they obviously don't believe he was the right target. He had no relation to any gang violence, which is prevalent in the area. It's just outside of the greater Vancouver area. I've been there once, and
Yeah.
honestly, I was traveling. I was on like a work trip or something, working for one of the last travel agencies there, and like people almost cautioned me not to travel out to Surrey alone on public transit and stuff like that because it's just that rough of a suburb or
Yeah, I don't think
neighborhood.
I've ever been to Surrey, so
I mean, like, I don't know. People think Canada's freaking perfect, but like, we all have problems. We're just like little
yeah,
America. We have problems with
yeah.
homelessness and drugs and violence and all
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah, especially here. So, um, so this was in Surrey, and the Integrated Homicide Division said that the family had just moved to Surrey and had no ties to the apparently ongoing Lower Mainland gang conflict. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So there's gang violence they know of there, obviously. Um, and Nikki Oman was a cousin of Aren's, and he's actually a Kamloops radio host. So you can find him online, but he spoke up about the family's loss because, yeah, it was his cousin that died. So he had said, "My heart is really broken. Somebody came up while he was waiting and shot him 5 to 7 times. It's
Wow.
unthinkable. He left behind 2 young kids and a wife." Sorry, pardon me. Yeah, so really brutal. And this one is completely ongoing because it just happened. I mean, what did I
Okay.
say? Like a month or two ago. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I couldn't get more info, but didn't want to discount it just because of that. Um, Especially because, yeah, if people have information, it could be good. They said it happened just before 8 p.m. and a vehicle had been identified as probably the suspects, like a white Ford rental van. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, like a moving van was this big thing, or a big kind of van thing, I guess, like a U-Haul or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyone that has any information, we are urging anyone with CTV or dash cam footage or who may have witnessed the incident to please contact IHIT immediately, said Corporal Suki Desi in a statement. They're seeking CCTV and dashcam footage from areas in the 2300 block of 168th Street and Highway 10th near 144th Street in Surrey for a Penske Ford white Penske Ford Transit van on March 13th between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. And anyone with information is asked to contact the IHIT information line at 1-877-551-IHIT or 4448 or by email IHITinfo at rcmp-grc.gc.ca. I also just think that they shouldn't always do the ones now. This one at least spelled out the digits, but I hit or 222 tips as I have in my next one is like
Yeah.
nobody dials like that anymore where you have the letters associated with the number pad. you know?
That's true. That's really a home phone type or rotary phone type thing.
Well, cuz yeah, if I bring up the dial pad on my cell phone, it's not necessarily going to say like ABC 001 or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know. So, they should change it.
Yeah. Us people that knew T9 word though, and you had to hit 3 times to get to like twice to get to R and 3 times to get to S.
This
But
is
you
a
could
badge
still
of
text.
honor
You could
for
still text
growing up.
almost as fast. It was
We're the
wild.
early texters.
Oh, it was crazy.
I didn't know if you had a cell phone then. I barely had a cell phone when T9 was out, but then I was
Uh,
out more than other members of my family sometimes, and I'd
yeah.
have to be like, "Mom, come drive me home."
Well, my brother basically kept a roll of change and had to call my mom on payphones all the time. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
by the
I would
time I
page my dad
started
from payphones. I know.
by the time we got from that to like the 6 years between us to the age where I was starting, like, I would call her up and be like, hey, in the summer, I'm gonna go to my friend's house and I'm gonna walk
Yeah,
there. It was a little different. So I think it
totally.
was grade 5. So I was no, I was about 10 or 11 when I got a cell phone
Right.
for the first time. And I basically never used payphones. Like, I think I've used one
Well,
payphone once in my whole life to call somebody. So they basically just they bought my brother like a newer cell phone, then gave me his old one. And then was like, okay, now you're just gonna call mom on the cell phone and stuff. And
well, because as a parent, it does make sense. You end up being like,
yeah,
oh, I wish I could have contacted her without calling
yeah,
the school, or I would try to
uh-huh,
message Rain on like Instagram because she had her tablet with her and stuff. And it's like, honestly, we actually need her to have a cell phone. Like,
yeah,
because other people be like, oh, you don't want to get them a cell phone too early because they have everything nowadays. It's like, she's already had the internet. She has YouTube. She's had all that.
yeah,
And now we actually need to get in touch with her sometimes. And
yeah.
like, she has a cell phone now, and so Grammy bought it for her and has
Hmm.
been paying for the bill as a Christmas present, and that's been great. That's yeah, I was like, you know what, that was a really good idea. and
Yeah,
Rain's been loving it and whatnot, and I don't know. I forget, but I guess we're just gonna go from there and see how it goes. But it's like sometimes you really do need it when you can't. You're
yeah,
going to pick them up or whatever, and you're like, ah, I'm gonna be late, and then like it really is nice just to be able to
right.
communicate.
I was
Yeah,
basically the only one of my friends that had a cell phone for
I
a good
mean,
probably 2 or 3 years. And
I could
then,
see that they were new.
yeah, it was like the prepaid cards when you got it was like $15. You'd load it on, you could text 100 times or whatever, and then it was used up. And then,
Evenings and weekends minutes.
yeah, 100%. And then, yeah, and then I got what my cell phone after that had the slide keyboard underneath it, so you slid it up and it had like
Oh
the key
yeah.
under. Oh fuck yeah! You thought
I
you
had
were
one
the
like that, and then it had a weird like instead of just like flipping close, it like did like a twist.
ooh nice.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah,
a not maybe a Razor, but a Motorola, something similar to
yeah,
that.
it was
Yeah.
indestructible. Yeah.
No, not
Uh,
the Nokia. I've seen those videos. I was telling
yeah,
you I
they're
watched this
crazy.
channel that I found through another podcast that like it just crushes everything with those big pneumonic presses.
Oh,
And
those
they
are so
tried to crush
satisfying.
Yes, they tried to crush this Nokia thing, and I was like, that's why they say some of those old cell phones are so fucking
Yeah, they're
indestructible.
bricked.
Because it was like 1,000 pressure, 2,000 pressure. And it was just like, and this phone was not breaking. It was insane.
It's still ringing, showing like, "Doo-doo-doo, mom's calling."
You're still playing
Yeah,
Snake.
yeah. Oh,
All
yeah.
right, well, I have one more. Um, this was another out of Canada, a Jason Ramkishun. Uh, which again, I probably could have looked up pronunciation for, but I did not try. So I suck. Um, but sadly, he was driving home from his job as a security guard late on the night of November 13th, 2023. It was another recent one. And he was heading down Highway 410 just outside of Mississauga, Ontario. Yes, Mississauga is a lot like Mississippi for you American listeners. Mississauga is how it's spelled.
Oh, I could not spell that without looking at it. I could spell Mississippi though.
I started spelling it like Mississippi.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait. um so yeah, unfortunately he's driving home and a car pulls alongside of his, like deliberately slows down to bring alongside of his vehicle and opens fire. So Jason is shot, loses control of his car, and veers off the road near Courtney Park in Mississauga.
Hmm.
And he was found and taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Then 2 brothers were charged by Peel Regional Police in the crime. But actually, in total, all said and done, no. At this point, 4 people had eventually been charged in direct connection with the crime.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Um, this is what kills me. Jason had the bad luck to be driving the same make and model of the car as their intended victim.
Oh, and it was dark, you said? 'Cause it was later, right?
It's so, yes, I believe it was, yeah, it's nighttime. But it's similar to
Yeah.
yours, and then
Yeah.
there's similarities to the one that I did where there was a mistaken identity car thing in Vegas where a mother was shot, but also she had gone back out looking for the car that pissed her off, with her
Yeah.
son with a gun. So it was like, I feel really bad for you, but also like people have to take, there can be culpable also if they go back out
Yeah.
looking for trouble. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's tough. But this guy was literally just driving home from work, so I don't want to take away from that. Um, my dog's scraping the carpet outside. Uh, so yes, they thought he had the same make and model of car with someone they had an altercation with. Because they had had an altercation with a Honda Accord in the days previous. Actually, just 3 days before, November 10th, an altercation broke out on Del Monte Crescent in Mississauga, according to police, where a 24-year-old opened fire on a male victim in a 2013 Honda Accord that they ended up blocking in with their Volvo. So, like, the people in the Volvo got out and started advancing on the Honda and shooting,
Okay.
blocking the Honda in, but the Honda victim was able to flee unharmed. But because they were blocked in, they weren't able to do so without damaging the Volvo in the process. They must have
Okay.
hit it on the way out. um, and I believe he's an inspector. It said Inspector Marty Ottaway said, "We believe the incident was the catalyst for what came next. The ones in the Volvo that shot at the Honda later demanded $60,000 for damages, according to the judge in this case."
Sure.
And I don't know how they demanded that.
I don't know how much Volvos normally cost.
That too! that was my first thought, yes.
Yeah.
60,000. A
I don't
brand new
think
car
so.
could be 50,000. That's how much I think the Ford Edge was the year Pat got it. Anyway.
I know my SUV is, I think, with the trim line I bought and like GST and everything, it was almost $39,000.
Yeah,
Wow.
not even 50. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. Um so an Adrian Williams, 25, and Akeem Williams, 28, from the Greater Toronto area were charged, and Adrian was charged with first degree and attempted murder in the case, and Akeem was charged with attempted murder. As one of them was the driver who just slowed down, and the other one actually fired the shots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of a, I don't know,
But you knew what
discrepancy.
you were getting into.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he sure does. This is very sad. They said As a young man, Jason had aspirations of entering law enforcement and had a great presence within his family and community. That was a quote from Chief Nershawn Durapaya? Durapa? He had a really long last name that I knew I was going to butcher, and there was nothing I could do about it, really. I could have looked up pronunciation.
It's hard with names too, because
Sometimes there's not
yeah,
much
yeah,
for a
and you don't
name.
know. Sometimes you don't know what country people even came from, and there could be
Yes,
three different
right.
pronunciations depending on which country they come from, and
That is true.
they
They
could sound totally
anglicize
different.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, or it could sound
yeah.
totally different in each country based on what they emphasize when they pronounce it. Yeah.
Sometimes we do try. No, just kidding. But it's true. It's tough. um, Ottaway added, "This has been a tragedy for that family and friends, and they miss him terribly." A 26-year-old Markham woman was also charged with being an accessory after the fact. A 26-year-old Milton woman was also charged with drug possession with intent of trafficking during the investigation, and also ties
Oh.
to guns and various gangs were quickly uncovered. Oh, yeah, it was, you know, it wasn't just a dead end case at all.
Yeah.
One article said that overall, 15 people were arrested in the process and are facing
Wow.
over 115 firearms related charges.
Jeez.
I
That's
know.
a lot.
So that actually makes me pretty happy. Like they're taking it seriously. Um, Apparently, they seized multiple firearms, including a 45 caliber handgun, two 40 caliber handguns, five 9mm handguns, and a 22 caliber assault rifle. So
Jeez.
yeah, again, pretty big guns
Yeah.
for Canada, especially.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't like assault rifle.
no.
Like, what the fuck else are you using that for?
I think that's the
Like,
thing that most people realize is that like most citizens don't need those on a day-to-day basis, and they can just allow you to indiscriminately murder and what's the word I'm looking for, like not genocide but massacre people because you can kill so
yeah.
fast, you
Yeah.
know.
I think they should ban
uh,
anything that doesn't require you to reload, like, after at least 6 or 9 shots or whatever.
yeah, but
Standard. Like,
civilians don't need AK-47s. Like we just
yeah.
don't. Oh my
Yeah.
god. And I don't know. I was just going to use Pat as an example, but my spouse is ex-military. As I
Yeah.
mentioned, PTSD, could be considered like a little bit paranoid on the side, maybe. But like, do you think he just like lives with a bunch of guns? Like, I mean, not that people in Alberta don't. We're kind of the Texas of Canada, but like,
Yeah.
it's just it's not a thing that like you need to have. I don't know. Pat will
Yeah.
collect different things. Like he has like a crossbow. He has several like swords. But at the
Yeah.
same time, he's mentally stable and not necessarily going to use them on a Greyhound bus to chop someone's head off. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Cuz at least with him being in the army and stuff, they are like, no, you go to therapy, we pay for that. We did this to
Yeah.
you. Now
That's
you get the
good. Yeah.
treatment. It is because so often veterans get the shit end of the stick, but that's a whole obviously another kettle of fish. So mine's also ongoing, so it also has a number you can call. um Anyone with information on the Jason, uh, the sorry, what was his last name? The last name. There it is. Anyone with information on the Jason Ramkishun case. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. can leave a tip with investigators. They can call 905-453-2121, extension 3205, or leave an anonymous tip with Crime Stoppers by calling 1-800-222-TIPS. That's the one I remember from Crime Stoppers. I've heard 222
Yeah.
tips so many times in my life before. I think they do have it on Australia too. Maybe I heard that recently. Maybe it's a Commonwealth country kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, Although, to conclude, one person has been sentenced in the case. Adrian, the driver of the vehicle, so not the shooter, but the driver, was sentenced to 8 years in prison just last year in 2022. But if I tried to look up his brother, Akeem, the apparent shooter, I could not find him. And the only Akeem Williams that came up was someone who was charged with killing a guy over a missing Xbox, and that was apparently in New York State. So
Oh. Yeah.
interesting, but I don't think that was my guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sometimes one rabbit hole almost leads you to another, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, Xbox crimes? No.
Right?
Yeah. But yeah, those were my cases that I picked for this one. It was pretty short.
Nice. Yeah. It's scary. Like, it's one thing to
Especially
have
ones that,
somebody out there that wants you dead, but another thing for you to be murdered because somebody thought you were the wrong person or thought you were a
yeah,
different
the road
person.
rage part to me ties
Yes.
into it because you're
There's,
like,
yeah.
you barely have to, you don't know someone to be mad at them for
Yeah.
like something road rage related, but people can
And just
get
snap,
mad enough to
like, in
kill.
just a
Yeah, it's
second.
crazy.
Yeah, that's so scary.
Also, I watched a TikTok today about a Canadian who's been living in America for a little while, and she was like talking about the differences, and she was like, honestly, it's a lot the same. She's like, but yeah, with the stereotype of us being a little more polite. She's like, here are some examples, and was like, say like you were to let someone out in traffic in front of you. Like normally in Canada, they might give you like a courtesy honk or a wave or
Yeah,
something,
I'll
like
try
an
and do a little hand
acknowledgement.
up. Yeah.
Or even if you walk by someone on the street, you might even just like nod or smile at them. Not in
Yeah.
America. She's like, I don't find that here.
Oh.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
should
Because it's
ask my friends
awkward.
that
You're
live
like, we just
there.
made eye contact. I guess I'm gonna kind of smile. Hi.
She was cute. She was like, and then when they were driving, they're just not that I haven't met Americans I don't like. She's like, but they were always mad all the time driving. I was like, that reminds me of some places in Canada. I mean, road rage is just a thing, but
I think it's a city thing. Like, just
yeah,
the I have
like an
deadlines. I
environment
have to be there.
kind of
I didn't leave.
festers.
Yeah, like I didn't leave in enough time. Oh, there's traffic. Oh, there's construction. Like people
City
just
traffic sucks. Yeah.
yeah, people just let everything pile on. It's like, well, we didn't make you leave the house late. Whose fault is that? Like,
It's true. I had to start driving like I didn't love the highway and merging as a new driver, but
yeah.
I've started to hate driving home through the city so much where I'm like, drive the speed limit. just
Yeah.
just go. That I'm like, I'll just take, even if it's more miles or whatever, I'll take the ring road around the city sometimes now because it's just a
Yeah.
lot less stopping. And you know,
Yeah, for
my
sure.
poor brakes, they've started to squeak if I use them too much, and I'm like, oh no. Pat's like, that means they need to be replaced. I'm like, I just bought this car.
Yeah.
I'll drive it on the highway for a bit, leave me alone.
Mine
Yeah,
does
it's
it.
crazy.
It'll start squeaking if it has rained and stuff like that, but I think that's typical. It doesn't
Oh,
normally do it.
like
I'd say if it's
today when
like,
it poured again.
yeah, I'd say if it's
Yeah.
bone dry and you're outside and your brakes are squeaking, then probably, but otherwise, like, if it's pretty wet out and stuff, I don't.
I
Yeah.
think they were getting so much use from me driving through the city.
Yeah,
That
probably.
yeah, I've been going around sometimes and now I'm like, "Oh, I've hardly even heard you. I haven't even had to brake on my way home, you know."
Nice. Yeah.
They all have their problems, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but anyway, we'll be happy to see you guys here next week.
Yeah. What are we even talking about? I don't have my list.
I mean, I have it written down as paranormal families
Yes.
for
That's what it
the
is.
for the nonce.
Yes.
I think I might be talking about the Fox sisters, and
Yeah.
that one might not even take me too long, so I might even talk about this one called Jeff the Mongoose, but we'll see. We haven't really done anything like medium, spirit, ESP related, so
Yeah, not really.
no, this could kind of fall in that vein, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe I just wanted an excuse to talk about a couple weird families. So I was like, Kelsey,
I think, yeah,
let's
he just wanted to
let's
talk about the Fox sisters, so you're like,
paranormal families. Oh, and because this one it will come out around my sister's birthday too, so that
yeah,
will help with the
fun.
theme.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I'm excited, and we'll see you next week. And keep it cryptic.
Yeah, bye. This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind the scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.